Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that West Ham have officially accepted Arsenal's £105 million bid to sign Declan Rice officially. It's all over. The saga is over. Declan Rice will be an Arsenal player. So I'm going to ask you this question, G. What is your initial reaction to Declan Rice officially signing for Arsenal?
That has to be a huge sigh of relief for all Arsenal fans right now. That's the guy they've needed. That just fits the bill perfectly. I mean, it's the statement Arsenal had to make to show that hey, that last season just was not a fluke. It wasn't just they just it just so happened that they were competing. They're here to stay. They want to stay in that mix for time to come. And this was that statement, Simon. Because look, a lot of people criticize Arsenal for not wanting to spend that much. And even in past videos, I really thought they weren't going to spend over 100 million for Declan Rice because that's just not really Arsenal's MO. They don't really spend that much. They're a bit stingy. They pinch a penny a lot over there.
Yeah.
But this shows that it's no longer like that. The Cronky is ready to spend. He's ready to drop some cash right now because it's been a long time since Arsenal have had something to celebrate, something to actually give them hope that they can compete. And that's what Declan Rice does. He's that good. He's just so well-rounded. There's not really that many holes in his game. And I think he completely transforms that midfield. I mean, look, you got to think Arsenal had Xhaka. Now they have Declan Rice. It changes life for Arsenal, especially in that midfield that desperately needed that type of player. So look, I'm not an Arsenal fan or anything, but I think it's exciting to see Arsenal get this type of player. It makes the league a little bit more competitive, hopefully. I mean, it's been a farmer league for the past 5 fucking seasons. So look,
Yeah.
and anything to try and catch up to Man City, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, look, I have been critical of Arsenal, and I think rightfully so. That Kai Havertz signing was a disaster, and it will be a disaster. I'll say it time and time again. 65 million for Kai Havertz is a horrible deal.
It's a good deal.
But they have made up for it. Signing Declan Rice, there's no two ways about it. This is exactly what they needed. I said it before. If Arsenal were serious about catching up to Man City and actually proving themselves as a contender, not only for this season, but for seasons to come, they had to pony up the cash and spend it and get Declan Rice. And that's exactly what they've done. They've beaten Man City to his signature. And I think this shows a huge statement of intent from Arsenal that they are here to stay. That this is not a fluke. This wasn't a one-season wonder. This is a club that is going to return back to its previous form, and they're going to be here to stay. Look, do I want Arsenal to return back to previous years? Of course not. But let's accept the reality of what it is. Arsenal are going to be a good team next season. That's just the reality of the situation. Declan Rice is a life changer for Arsenal. He's going to be brilliant in that midfield. Arteta eyed him out and said, this is the guy I need, and I have to give the board credit. I have to give Edu credit, and I also have to give Kroenke credit for actually spending the cash. They did what they needed to do. There's not much I can criticize about this deal, ultimately. I would love to, but I can't do it. This is the perfect signing. They needed to make this signing. They did make this signing. I can't find a way to criticize it. The only thing I can say is that they made up for their disaster of a Kai Havertz signing by getting Declan Rice. And ultimately, I don't know if it's enough to catch Man City, but it's a start. That's what this shows to me, that they are going to try to close the gap. They obviously have already brought in Kai Havertz, which I don't think is a good signing. Now they have Declan Rice, and they are supposed to be bringing in Timber, so it's going to be locked in this week, who's going to add great depth on that back line. He's going to be a center back, but he can also play right back. It's a good signing as well. I'm sure we'll make a video about that in the future. I like what Arsenal are doing besides Kai Havertz. And look, ultimately, like I've said before, that could come back and bite me in the ass, me consistently criticizing them for that. But I'm going to keep doing it until I get proven wrong. This is a good signing from Arsenal. Make no two ways about it. I know a lot of people are probably shocked to hear me say that, but it is what it is. I can't find a way to spin this into being a bad signing. It is the exact signing they needed. I give them full credit.
Yeah, I mean, you telling me you don't like a midfield of Havertz, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard?
I have said it before. That midfield, Declan Rice is going to have to he's got to work cut out for him in that midfield. That's what I'll say. If there's anyone who can make up for the lack of defensive ability in the midfield besides Declan Rice, it is Declan Rice. But look, I just don't see a midfield three of Havertz, Odegaard, and Declan Rice truly
I think that could work.
I just don't think Odegaard and Havertz are really offering you the defensive support that you need. You can get away with Odegaard in your midfield because they had Granit Xhaka and they also had Thomas Partey last season. Obviously, Declan Rice is an upgrade on Partey, and obviously they've replaced Xhaka with Havertz, and Odegaard stays. Havertz and Odegaard is just not going to work. Declan Rice is not the issue, obviously, but my issue is Havertz and Odegaard. Those are two players that want to go forward, that want to be in the attack. None of those players are really offering much on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Declan Rice has his work cut out for him. He's going to have a lot of defensive responsibility, and I think that ultimately it could lead their defense to ultimately being exposed. That's my issue with this.
At first, I did think the same way, but I think just the fact that all three of them are quite young, I think that's something they could possibly grow into. I mean, I think Odegaard would be that more, switch to maybe he's more of a not more of a box to box, more of a deep line playmaker, a guy who's not always, up in right there, pushing as high up as a Havertz would. Like,
but I think Odegaard is better going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think Odegaard would be better, but I think Odegaard is better going forward. But I think he can transition to that role of maybe a deep line playmaker a little bit better than Havertz could, just because I think he has the better IQ for it. Because when I think about that role, I think of obviously Toni Kroos, the guy who's basically mastered that role. But it's hard to compare. I think
it's a bit of a waste. It's a bit of a waste of Martin Odegaard's ability. If you're going to make him play a bit deeper now to have Kai Havertz come into the midfield, it's not enough of an upgrade for me to warrant getting rid of Odegaard.
It's kind of like trying to play. Well, you want to play Kai Havertz as the 10, and then Odegaard as either kind of an 8. That's kind of like the idea of that. But I can see how at first that's a very attacking midfield. But I'm sure Arteta's going to figure something out. He's gonna have a word. Let him have a word.
That's what everyone keeps saying, and I'm willing to give Arteta the benefit of the doubt until I see it on paper and I see it actually play in front of my eyes. Look, I can give Arteta the benefit of the doubt, but I do think that Arteta, he has these Arsenal fans. They follow him like sheep. Arteta could say anything.
Now, yeah, dude.
Arteta could literally say anything, and Arsenal fans would say, "You know what? I trust him. I believe in him." And look, I understand you got to back your manager, but Arteta hasn't won a trophy in 3 seasons, and I mean, these guys follow him like he's Jesus Christ. And they're the disciples. You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, it's somewhat warranted. I mean, they almost saved this Arsenal team that looked like they were destined to be mid-table fodder for seasons to come, and now he's just brought them.
I give Arteta credit. I think he's a good manager. He's done a good job. But I just don't.
There are levels to how much you should back your manager and how much I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
Look, I could be proven wrong by this, but people in the comments told me this is why I'm not a manager. And maybe that might be true. But until I see it work, I am not going to believe that midfield 3 is 100% going to work. But that doesn't change the fact that this signing is good. And if anyone is going to help that midfield work, it's going to be Declan Rice, because he is the key. If that's your midfield you're going to play, you had to have Declan Rice. He's the only guy that could possibly make this work. And that's exactly what they did. That's why they had to pay $105 million. And that's why it was so important to do that. Because I saw some people saying, look, it's time to back out of this deal. Let's not pay the $105 million. West Ham are asking for too much. And I said, Arsenal would be foolish to back out of this deal. You've went this far. You've put all your chips to the Declan Rice basket. You had to execute. You had to get it done. And they did. I give them credit. But, look, I can't get over that Havertz signing. Look, I'm happy as a Chelsea fan, but I just don't think it's going to work for Arsenal.
Why you shouldn't be so worried if it shouldn't work out. You should be up there jumping with joy.
I am, but I got to be unbiased when I come on here. So I'm talking. Do I think it's going to work for Arsenal? Even though I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm looking at it. Do I think it's going to work for Arsenal? My opinion is no.
Well, no, we'll just have to see on that one. But the other thing that I heard some people talking about were just the price that he went for. Do you think 105 million is a bit too much? Because a lot of the things I saw rolling around was, Enzo went for somewhat similar. A lot of people were saying, with 105 million, who would you take between the two, Declan Rice or Enzo Fernandez?
But look, I think they're
completely different players.
It's a very difficult comparison to say who would I rather take, because it depends on your need in the team. Those are two totally different players. I get it though. It's Arsenal versus Chelsea. Those two players are going to be compared. They go for similar prices. I'm not even going to really go there. I think Enzo is better, but that's also my bias because I'm a Chelsea fan. But if I need a central defensive mid, I want Declan Rice. No doubt about it. No two ways about it. That's the guy that you want. Our Arsenal, they needed to pay this money. He's worth $105 million because that's what he's worth to West Ham. This is a guy that brought West Ham a Conference League title. He was the catalyst behind that, from that central defensive mid position. He is elite. There's no two ways about it. You are getting a guy. There is no chance of him flopping. That's one of those things.
He's Premier League proven.
He's Premier League proven. He's English. He's young. He's only going to get better. That's just the going rate these days. It's just what it is. People who say that our Declan Rice is not worth that type of money, they're delusional. This is what football is. This is how much players go for these days. If you want an elite player, a best of the best player, this is what you have to pay. It just is what it is. Arsenal are finally realizing that they're going to have to pony up the big bucks if they want to get the elite players in the world. They know that if they want to really compete with Man City, they have to pony up the cash. Kroenke has finally realized that. He is finally starting to do that. You have to give Arsenal credit for that. Declan Rice is totally worth that money, no doubt about it. I think any club should have been willing to pay that money, whether it's Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, whoever was interested in him. Anybody should be willing to pay that amount because that is what the going rate is. You don't go in for a world-class midfielder in 2023 and expect to pay less than 100 million. You'd be foolish if you expected that.
Especially when he's in the same league that you're bidding him for, because there's the
Same city.
Like, yeah, I mean, look, it's the same city, man. Because like when you look at it, like you always kind of worry about signing, like for example, Kai Havertz from the Bundesliga, who was brilliant in the Bundesliga, but you pay so much for him, and he turns out to be what he is right now. A bit underwhelming. I think for a player like Declan Rice, who's been in this league, the physicality, he's already up to speed. There is no, that good old you have to let him transition into it. I mean, he's already primed and ready for it. So I completely agree. I think he's worth 100 million. I mean, that's just how the market is. Like realistically, deep down, I'm still the same way. It's like 100 million for Declan.
It's a lot. Don't get me wrong.
That's just how it is. That's how the market is, man. I mean, like literally, I thought Jude Bellingham was gonna be 150. Well, I mean, that's just how this market is. And whatever, English player, freaking tax or whatever the hell. But
it is a real thing.
It's a real thing, but he's class. He's just world class.
I mean, look, like people don't even talk about what he was able to do at the World Cup. I thought he was brilliant in the World Cup for England, and then obviously he's been brilliant for West Ham. I mean, you watch West Ham and you look at Declan Rice and you say, "This is the guy."
This is how.
I mean, he just runs that midfield for them. He was such an important player for them. We all knew it. I mean, look, we knew that it was inevitable he was going to leave West Ham. Am I disappointed he ultimately ended up going to Arsenal? Yes, a bit, because I think if Chelsea had Champions League football, we would have definitely been in this race. But ultimately, when you don't miss out, when you missed out on Champions League football, this is the consequences. Your rivals get a player of this caliber. That is what it is. We missed out on Declan Rice because we didn't have Champions League football, but ultimately we still got an elite midfielder in Enzo. So I'm not over here kicking too much, and we're gonna get Caicedo. I keep saying it, but it's Caicedo. So look, I think. This is a fantastic move for Arsenal, but I think we know that they're pretty much going to get Timber, but are they going to do anything else? That's my question marks from Arsenal. They finally got this one across the line. Can they do anything else? That's my thing. I mean,
probably need a little bit more midfield depth. But
you know what I mean?
We
don't know exactly what's going to happen with Thomas Partey. Is he going to Saudi? Is he not going to Saudi? Regardless of that, can Arsenal spend more money? Do they still need a little bit more?
Is that it?
I don't know if they can spend more money, but they're going to need to, if they really want to catch Man City and compete, Arteta knows it, they're going to have to spend a little bit more. They're going to have to bring in some more. Like, I know they brought in a lot. They're going to have to bring in some more. And ultimately, that's going to decide where they finish the season. Are they going to actually compete for the title, maybe even win it, or are they going to settle for second or third place? That's what we're going to see here. You know what I mean? It remains to be seen. But all I do know is that they finally got this signing across the line. So now if they are going to focus on new signings, they actually can, because now they don't have to worry about these negotiations with West Ham because they were absolutely crazy. I mean, they spent weeks on the signing.
And this one took a long time.
It did take a long time. We had to just wait to make the video. I mean, it was just like we made multiple different videos about this saga because we didn't know what was going to happen at one point. They finally got it across the line. Like I said, I give them 100% credit for that.
Yeah, and not the two I said he would go to Arsenal.
You did?
Not Man City.
Well, I think it was I think deep down I knew he was going to go to Arsenal, but I had to make my case. I'll say this.
It was a different topic. You weren't predicting all yet. You didn't guess.
If I was in his shoes,
you were him. You was a, but I think I gotta take my wins.
I think Man City will regret this. I think Man City should have made a harder push. I don't know if Declan Rice would have picked them in the end. I think Man City could regret this. Arsenal weren't that far away from Man City last season. Now they're bringing in a player like Declan Rice. This is a player that moves the needle enough to where Man City, look, they've lost Gundogan. We don't know what's going to happen with Bernardo Silva. We don't know what's going to happen with Kyle Walker. They are losing strength. We don't know who they're going to bring in. Arsenal are gaining. I think Pep Guardiola and Man City could come to regret this move, not pushing harder. We don't know if they would have gotten him anyway. I mean, maybe Declan Rice had his heart set on Arsenal.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to sit back and they're going to say, we should have pushed a little bit harder. We should have done something more than what we did. That's what I think. I think ultimately they might come to regret this, but it remains to be seen.
We'll have to see.
But you're going to have to let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about Declan Rice signing for Arsenal? Let us know. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for more content. But I think without further ado, we can get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
So I'm Zach.
I'm G.
And we'll see y'all next time for another video on the channel. Peace.